Well, hello everyone. Here to show you right here of talking about for Distiller, right? And I can also mention right here of talking about whenever it comes to receipts, because we all know that when we do speak about receipts, a lot of times that receipts are just they're more than just the proof of purchase, right? But whenever we do look at a receipt, a lot of times it sure seems that way that you find a lot more information on there whenever it comes to understanding about thanks for thanks for your purchase, and also invitations to take an online survey, and other things that you might find on that receipt too as well. But I'm just showing everybody here that talk about for Distiller, right? And so it sure seems that way that each time we do look at a distilled document right here, that I went ahead and found this right here of showing right here the PDF file, right? And but you would see this right here. It says right here that after opening up this file right here, that there is going to be what you call this summary right here, like the total of documents you found was zero. And so it sure seems that way that when we do use a distiller right here using PostScript files, right? And so you would see this right here, that this information right here will have the date right here, and also that the location for where the file was found right here. So it sure seems that way that each time we do use distiller, that you're able to it's to me though that's like another way. I'm like, yeah, for modification purposes also, but still that when we do speak about distiller though, that you'll learn to where that, yeah, well really that whenever you first opened up this pro and start using this software here, that you were mainly using it just to be able to produce copies mainly. But like, let's just say that if we're asked to go ahead and use Distiller, maybe that just to look at a few of the documents closely, I'm like, oh yeah, anything that you're trying to build onto a document though, but you have these, and I know that you've probably seen that before, but we would have these options right here to where we can actually, use these settings to create PDF documents that will be checked and must be confirmed, the PDF file, and for the ISO standard graphics content exchange. So it sure seems that way that this tool right here, as we know, would be the tool that you would use, right? And so it sure seems that I'm like, yeah, if we can see this right here. So if you were to actually use this right here, and so it sure seems that way that with this PostScript document right here. So anything about for what you're trying to understand about like, yeah. So this right here, this PostScript document right here. But if you want to go ahead and maybe add something like what you calls like initial this or something like that, or like yeah, if you like yeah, understanding the clear speech. So it's like yeah. So if that's really so I guess okay, yeah, that just it don't really do anything really, but anyway, so you're able to click on these different areas right here of this document right here, but it don't look like yeah, it's not going to allow me to do and do any typing or anything like that. But it sure seems that way that when we do speak about distiller though, that when we do think about a document, right, and that you want to know too that, yeah, well really that what you really are doing right here is that you're really you really are looking over that document. But let's just say that if you were trying to, like people might say, is that, yeah, that the reason why you opened up the distiller right here was mainly so that way you can review the document. So it's like you're not really going back and edit anything, but what you really are doing is reviewing everything and making sure that everything all looks correct. And then, yeah, and if you want to add any sticky notes or comments or anything like that, you'll be able to do that right here. But it sure seems that way that when we do speak about Distiller, though, that you're warned toward, okay, yeah, well, with Distiller, that for any reason that you're going to be using that, and so it's like, yeah, that looking at this, open this up in Acrobat right here, but you're warned too that, okay, yeah, well, really the purpose to why that you were using this right here is that you were actually were using this right here just to be able to, if you'd add more features, and also that if you want to go ahead and produce copies. And so it sure seems that way that, yeah, there was one time where one document only contained one page, is right? Like how many pages, and if you were trying to add more pages, or if you were trying to you build a binder, like if you were trying to form a binder of some sort, and you would have these options right here to where allow PostScript objectives, and of course convert the gradient to smooth shades, and so you would have these options right here, but it sure seems that way that that when we do think about this right here, that one document that would only include one page, but you would maybe think about Adobe Acrobat along with Adobe Distiller is to where that you can actually add multiple pages, and maybe if you want to go in and attach an extra page that would include like maybe an exclamation paragraph to where, okay, yeah, these are the changes that I made to this document right here, and so that's why it sure seems that way that a lot of professionals might say that it would be courteous for you to go and include that information right there, just to show that what all that you changed with that. I'm like, oh yeah, but that do anything to the original, and plus if anything was modified, right? But when we do speak about signatures, though, and then talk about for distill right here, and so it's like, yeah, that whenever I first started using this, I actually was thinking too is that what you actually are working with right here is that a project that has not had any PDF files produced. So let's just say that if you were working with InCopy or InDesign at the beginning, and let's just say that there was no PDF file found, in this. So it's like, yeah, whenever we think about Distiller, though, that we necessarily thinking about is as toward, okay, yeah, this project right here was developed using InDesign, using Illustrator or using Photoshop, right? But would you be able to use the same tool just to be able to check to see about, okay, how many PDF files that were created and what was shared, right? So that's why it sure seems that way that each time we do speak about InDesign copies, or maybe if I'm like, InDesign files or anything that you weren't, to where that the first time using Distiller, that's going to probably be maybe one of the first things that you're going to learn is to where that the purpose for Distiller is knowing that, okay, yeah, are you going to be using this to look at carefully over any documents, or for any reason at all, that how many copies that were created, that were produced, and so that's why it sure seems that way. That each time I'll go ahead and just click cancel there, but you see this right here that it says oversized pages right here. So I have this file right here that's opened up right here. We can see this right here. It says PDF file for contracts right here, but it's like that. So it's going to tell you the information right here toward the summary right here. But then this document passed the PDF file components checks right here, and also it's going to give you this still time for 0 hours, 0 minutes, but then 1.79 seconds right here. So it seems like that that the program like for if you're going to be building a document using Illustrator or using InDesign, that there's going to be a recording time for, okay, how long did it take for you to be able to develop this project, and then if you were working on it for any reason at all, then it's gonna this information right here about the file name and all that, the destination for where it was saved and all that. So if we were talking about maybe a PowerPoint document, or maybe a document that was originally recorded in you using WordPress or something like that, and you're warned toward, okay, yeah, that when we do speak about documents a lot of times, that do we really want to go back nearly 3 weeks ago and check to make sure all this information right here, and for any reason at all, if you were just checking it out, you would just want to go back and look back and say, okay, yeah, that this was when the file was created and all that, but still, like everybody else might say, that if you're trying to produce PDF file copies, are you really going to be paying attention to too much of all this details right here? And even if you are, and like people say that, yeah, if you're just really curious to know, that's really that this is what shows right here. So it's like when we do speak about Distiller a lot of times, that you really get on there just to be able to produce copies, right? But let's just say that if you were to take the extra few minutes and just to kind of check it out, and you want to know too, okay, what else can you use this for? And thinking as to where, yeah, save portable job ticket inside a PDF file. And so it's like, yeah, you have these other options right here too. And, for overprinting, default to non-zero overprinting. And so you have these different printing options right here, right? So it sure seems that way that, if it's not going to be a PDF file document, then maybe it's going to maybe be about something about a receipt or something like that. You're going to maybe you want to know that the same tools are going to be available to where if you're trying to produce any important receipt of some sort, like if you're doing the online shopping or something like that. So that's why it seems like that each time I think about that, like say that, yeah, well, that's me right there, the copies, and I'm like, oh yeah, that whenever it comes to the words and sayings right here, but it sure seems that way that when we do speak about, yeah, I can like anybody that might even say that do you have access to the highlighting? I'm like, can you actually highlight it? And yeah, you can highlight. It looks like that's what it looks like. You can actually highlight it. So really, that when we do speak about Distiller, though, it's like whenever you're able to open up a PostScript document using Distiller, right? That you're able to highlight that information right there onto a document, and like everybody else might say, is to where if you're just trying to, if you're working with a client, and let's just say that if you're trying to highlight this and maybe post any comments or anything like that, you'll use Distiller for that. But a lot of times it seems like for any purpose at all that you were using it for that reason. But it sure seems that way that every time I do think about Distiller, though, it's like, yeah, you really are using it just to take about maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to use a tool, just to sign a document, or if anything, just to be able to look really closely at a document, for any changes, or anything that you want to make a copy of, produce a copy of. But for any purpose at all, like everybody else would say, is that you don't really spend a whole lot of time looking over a lot of those other options that you really have access to, right? So the purpose for Distiller, like everybody else might say, is to where that could have been what you call the adoptable portable cousin, by Acrobat, right? And so it sure seems that way that you pretty much have the similar tools that you would have, for based on it for Acrobat, right? But each time we do speak about Distiller, though, that you go ahead and use Distiller, and then you're able to the same thing it goes by is this toward it that whenever you are working with a PDF file right here, that you have these options right here to where you can go and view this document using Acrobat, but then whenever you go into Distiller, that it's going to ask you to where okay, there were only so many copies produced, and so it'll tell you. But other than that,